Hi, welcome back. I am so happy to be here and to be able to be talking better to you. I lost my voice last week and it's just taking its time this week. Um, so we're just going to jump right in. I wanted to talk a little bit about um, those of you that have trees that you look at it and you think, I don't know where to go. It's very full. I've got lots of pioneer ancestry, or Aunt so-and-so has done a lot of work. And I want to go beyond just doing ordinances ready. I'd like to do a little bit more discovery, be a little bit more in the tree. So we're going to talk a little bit about something called campaign roll-up test. Some of you may have heard about it. And if you have, this may be a review, but I think it'll be a good review. Also, before I go on, I want to address these little guys back here. So I did something very crazy on Friday. And yesterday, I put up my Christmas decorations, even though, as I'm recording today, it's not even Halloween yet. I've never done that in my life. I used to be the day after Thanksgiving, and then it kind of went to the middle of November, and then it was the beginning of November. I just love to enjoy the spirited season, and when it's cold and dark outside, it's nice to have the lights. So anyway, that's my little disclaimer for that. And I also have my little wreaths on the window, and everybody else has Halloween out. So here in the United States, that's what it almost is, but just kind of sharing that little disclaimer. So we're going to talk a little bit about the campaign roll-up test. I'm going to share my screen. It's not letting me share my screen. Criminy. Allowed to share screen. Share and try our screen. There we go. This is my fourth time trying to record, and it was just every time I try and share a screen, it wouldn't let me share my screen. So now let's hope that it works. I'm going to add a page. So what you'll do is you'll type in FamilySearch.org. And I'm going to sign in. I find that this is the easiest way to do it, so I'm just signing in. All right, so now that I'm already signed in, it's very easy to come up to the top. And when you click on that, see how this all gets highlighted in blue? You can just take your mouse, click here, and delete. So just go back till you get to the slash. See that little slash, .org slash, and then start typing campaign. And it should do campaign/family-ordinances-opportunities. And then you can just say enter. And this is what it does. So you can see it's still the same family search top bar. And what it does is it is going to explore your tree and the fan chart view, and it is going to find opportunities for you. So this is what we want to pay attention to. It's an experimental prototype. Known issues will be addressed in future release, including ordinance counts, and it's best used on a desktop, laptop, or large tablet. You cannot use this on a phone. So this is what it looks like. It gives you a little green circle with approximate number of family members with ordinances able to be reserved in the descendancy of that person. So it's kind of fun. It's already identified people that it can tell just directly down that it can find. Just know that you need to take this with a grain of salt. Don't just mean green. Don't think green means go. Green means go slow. Check every possible source that's attached to make sure everything looks good. The family connections are right. I feel like I go to sneeze. Excuse me. That is my Grandpa Bagley sneeze. Right here, James Carroll Bagley. He never sneezed just once, so I always think of him every time I sneeze. Just remember that it's giving you an idea, but the information needs to be correct, and it's up to us as human beings to use our analytical skills to make sure that this is correct. For an example, I had a friend a few weeks ago who said she was very frustrated because she tried this, and she went in, she checked it after she reserved and realized that this person was connected to 3 different families at the same time in England, which can't be possible. And it was really messed up. There were, I think, 21 children. So just because it says green, that does not mean go. That means take a look at it, analyze it, make sure it's really ready. And if it's not, you can come back to the drawing board. So currently I'm here in the center, and then if I change it, I'm going to go put my grandpa here in the center, and it will reevaluate it from his perspective. So he's here in the center, and then if we go over here, then we can see I get a lot more choices on his line because there was a lot less members of the church on his side. Let's see, this grandmother, there was a convert, and this one was a convert. So you can see it made a big difference. So I'm going to go over here to Banked Paulson. See, it says I have 35 opportunities down in his descendancy. So when I click on that, it gives me the descendants of Torah, Martin's daughter, and Banked Paulson. I can choose it by ordinances. So if I click on this and I say I only want baptisms, then it will search, and then I can even choose if I want only girls. And it brings all of those up. So it's saying I have 6 available. And remember, you can click and reserve. I would recommend before you click and reserve that you go in and make sure that there's a source attached, that this family looks like everything's good, the places match. So let's go to Anna just because she has a picture. And I've got a birth in 1850. I can see that there's no sources, there's a memory. So I'm going to go up to Anna Maria. I want to find one that has a source. That one doesn't have a source either. To see if any of these have sources. Okay, here's Charlotta. She has sources. So I'm going to click on person. And I come in and look at her and see what's going on. So first of all, I see that there's actually a hint here that there's a Sweden burials that may be her. I noticed that there's 12 sources. So that makes me feel good that there's a lot of sources attached. I can see that this Lars Bengtsson, so a cousin from Sweden, has been adding those sources. So that helps me feel good that it's somebody who knows how to do research in this area. I look at the birth date. It's in 1864 in Hiesholt, Holland. And there's even a death date. And if I keep going down, I can see she has a husband, pair. And I always love it when I see that this is all gray and yet she was green, because I just think they've got to be on the other side, just jumping up and down. So pair, his endowment was completed in 2004. And so then I like to look at the kids. And let's see, if you hover over, I don't know if I explained this, but when you hover over this, it'll show you when the temple work was done. So I just hover over this, 2024, that baptism was completed in Snowflake. If I go to Oscar, he's been done for, he was sealed to his parents in 2024 in Richmond, Virginia. So if you notice, he died as a 3-year-old or 2.5-year-old. So none of these are needed. So they're just all grayed out. And then the sealing to parents was already done, which is not valid until her work is done. So I just like to click through, didn't mean to click on that one. I just like to check each of the kids out to make sure that there's nobody that needs their work done. For some reason, the little gray boxes aren't showing up. Another way that you can do that is you can do the view tree. And then you can look at it this way. So you can see any circle with the little clock means that it's been shared with the temple. So I look and I see, okay, all of those have been shared with the temple. So that's great. And for whatever reason, Charlotta has just been sitting there, even though she has 12 sources. There's one more that we can add. And while I'm in this view, I know I'm going to come back and reserve her, but I like to click on the little arrow here and see who needs work done. So both of these they don't have last names, which I would want to come in and put their father's last name of Holt, because we're in the time period in Sweden where they stopped doing patronymics. And see, they're in the 1920s. They would have just taken their father's last name of Holt. I can add that to make it more complete, but I can't do their work because it's been less than 110 years. But I'll come here to auto, and he has the same thing, but also those children need a last name. So I can see there's some places where I can fix a few things. I can also look here. Emma Henrietta doesn't have a spouse, and she lived long enough to get married. So I could go to her, see if there's any sources. I also see here Ernst Gustav Niels Jonsson. If I click on this, there's quite a few records to be attached to him. So I'm just going to take you through for a second. We'll come back to Charlotta. Let's click on Ernst, and he's been shared with the temple. And let's see if his wife has been, Signe. And her work, if I hover over this, she was done just a few weeks ago. Her endowment was done. And so we don't have any children for them. At this point, because they got married in 1930, we would not be able to do any work for the children. But if we found children in these records, then they would be at least in the queue, or at some point when somebody joined the church, or the 110 years passed, they would be done. So that's something that I can come back and work on. I could add those records. So if you see these ones, so where it says Ernst Gustav Nils, and it doesn't have the Jonsson, just a little tip, is generally in these Swedish household records, that means he was still a child and living with his parents. He hadn't reached confirmation age. Generally in the church records, they got confirmed between 15 and 18. And so up till that point, they are just living in the household with their first names. Once they basically become an adult, then they would take on either their father's patronymic or last name, depending on the time period. All right, so let's go back here. One more. Here's Charlotta. So then I can come in here. I'm just going to double check actually one more time. I want to make sure that she really is connected to her spouse. So if I go here to 1909, and I can see it says Charlotta Nilsson. She's married. Here's the original record. And let's see if her husband's living with her, if he hasn't passed away. So I click on that. And I'll say okay. And there he is, Per Eliasson Holt. So he's living with her. H means hustru. We talked about this before, which is wife, and then daughter, daughter, son, daughter. And so you can see there's quite a big family here. So what a happy day that she's finally going to be able to get her work done. So I feel very good about doing this, getting her reserved. So I come over here to Ordinances, and hopefully it will show up. Let's refresh the page. All right, here we go. And I click request, and I'm going to request. So this week I don't have time to go do baptisms, or I don't anticipate it. So I'm going to click share ordinances with temple, and I'm going to share the baptism and confirmation, and I want to keep the initiatory, and I'm going to share the endowment because I have quite a few endowments, but I need some initiatory. So I can leave that unchecked. That means that I'm going to keep that one. The checked boxes mean it will share with the temple, and I will also share with temple. And now she's reserved. If I wanted to come back and unshare it, I could click on the share button and click unshare with temple, and it would go back to my reservations, and then I could do all of it. All right, let's try one more. Let's come back in here. So let's go to Lars Åkesson. So I've got baptisms, I've got a Petronella and an Anna. If I just choose all ordinances, then I get that. And if I scroll down, I want to point something out. This little icon is family details. If I click on it, then I can find out about the family, and so I can see the parent and children and spouses that need reserved. So, and then you look at grandchildren. Anything with the clock means it's been shared with the temple. So I usually leave that shared with the temple. I have plenty to do, but you can take those if you don't have any to do. So what I'm going to focus on is I'm going to start here, and I'm going to click reserve. And now that I'm in here, I want to make sure check his details, check his sources. So I can see he was born 3rd of June, 1815, Investor Torup. I've got a death date. He has a wife, and then all those children. And nothing looks really messed up. Let's see, 41, 43, 46. We're looking for 2 to 3 year gaps generally. With the kids, those all look good. They all have the last patronymic name of Trodson or Trod's daughter. And if I go look at the sources, there's a birth and christening record for him in 1815. There's a death record, and then I would just look at each of these just to make sure they match up. Then I click here and I say request. And in just those few minutes, I've requested people that need their work done. Now, if we go back here, let's go back to the tree. Let's leave my Swedish side just so you can have an idea of another side. So this would be this one. Well, this has some Danish, but you look at this side. So these are my Nova Scotia area. These are some that were like North Carolina. Let's go to my Hugh McClellan. He was in North Carolina, Tennessee. So if I go down, so you can see grandchildren. Now, when you get this kind of thing, you've got a name, and then the red or the yellow, that means there's missing information. You can see all it says is his name and deceased. So we are missing death date, birth date. So I could go in to him. Let's just go to him for a second and see if anything shows up. He lived in South Carolina. And what I'm going to look for is I'm going to look for some hints. And if I don't see any, then I see how is he connected. So he's a son of this James McClellan, and I can tell that there's no dates. So this is going to take a little bit more work. Is it impossible? No. But for our simple purposes that we're talking about today, I would say I'm going to leave this George for right now, and then I could focus on some other ones. If I come down here and I'm just looking for something easy to do, I can come here to Harriet Ann Miller. Let's take a look at her. She needs a sealing to parents. And then I notice I look over here. So there's a little warning, birth after father's death. Come and look. So she was born in 51 and her father was born in 45. Interesting. So then what I would want to do is click on her mom to see if her mom married again, because maybe she's connected in the wrong family. So do you see how sometimes there's further things that need to be done? And it doesn't look like we've got a second spouse. So this would be something that I would want to research more. The other thing I noticed here is there's a Harriet R. Miller and a Harriet Ann Miller. All of a sudden I've got some little red flags going up that I don't think there would be two Harriets in this family. So what I would do is I can use my little links here to go into Ancestry, my heritage, see if I can find what might be going wrong. I can look at the sources for each of these to see if there's a possibility, but the probability is not very high. So then I'm going to say I'm not going to worry about Margaret right now, and I'll close these out. So I hope that gives you a really good idea of how you can use this as hints. Just remember when you come into here, and I get so excited, look at this one, 99. Oh, yay. There's 99 possibilities of work to be done down here. But what I need to do is I need to make sure that there's enough information. I can see one's for sure ready, 16 are reserved and shared. So those are ready. I could grab them if I wanted. 8 means there's 8 people. So if I want to be doing some research and digging in, this gives me some people to work on. And then there's 8 reserved and 562 completed. So you can see as we scroll down how amazing that is. And I come from a big line of Pioneer ancestry. And so even with this, so I challenge you, if you come from Pioneer ancestry, would you get on and share with us, just share in the comments what you discovered. I'm going to stop sharing. I would love to know and hear some success stories of how this benefited you in doing your searching. So my invitation for you this week, I don't know if we did one last week, but my invitation is that you will test this out and then give us some feedback. Let us know if this helped you break through some brick walls, and if you have any more questions. So happy searching, and we'll see you next week.